Hello and welcome to a sunny afternoon outside of Toronto. I am coming off a week of being sick, so forgive me if my voice sounds a little bit more gravelly and soulful than usual. I am in the Genesis Electrified GV70, and as you might surmise by that name, that's the electric version of the GV70 that we know and love. Usually on these reviews, I like to answer 3 or 4 questions about the car, but today I'm answering only one, the GV70. Should you get it in electric or gasoline? Well, let's go through the numbers on my phone. If you want to skip about 2 minutes ahead into this video, we will start the actual driving part, but you know I like to go through my notes first. So the big news is that the Genesis Electrified GV70 only comes in one trim in Canada, and that's what we have, the Prestige. Now this is basically the top trim that's not the Sport. The GV70 comes in the Sport trim, which is higher and has the V6 twin turbo, blah, blah, blah. Essentially this car pairs with the 4-cylinder turbo top level trim gasoline GV70 is its equipment comparison. Now, if you take the gasoline Prestige versus our EV Prestige, the price difference is $18,650. You pay a lot more for an electric drivetrain, and that's because batteries, they're expensive. And because this is a luxury EV with a high price tag, it doesn't qualify for any of the federal or provincial rebates here in Ontario as of publishing. Batteries are also very heavy, so this one weighs about 600 pounds or 280 kilos more than the gas version. Despite that, it will absolutely whoop it 0 to 60. Genesis Canada does not officially quote acceleration times, but weirdly, Genesis UK does, and I'm assuming that their model is the same as ours. So the V6 does 0 to 60 miles an hour in 4.9 seconds. The 4-cylinder, which is the trim rival for this guy, it does it in 5.6. However, the electrified GV70 does 0 to 60 miles an hour in 4.2 seconds. It is rapid, and that is provided you press the boost button here on the steering wheel. Now, regularly, this vehicle makes 429 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque, which is a lot. However, you press that boost button down here on the steering wheel, and that number jumps to 483 horsepower. Those numbers might sound familiar because this is the exact same battery pack, motor setup, and drivetrain and power and output as the GV60, which we did the first drive of in Texas. So it's essentially that exact same drivetrain in a different body, a larger, heavier body, mind you. Now, Genesis estimates a total range of 383 kilometers on a full charge. It's worth noting that when I picked this car up, it had estimated about 300 kilometers of range, and I haven't done a full charge yet, but my driving so far, that bears out to be about true. With the air conditioning, not driving like a saint, 300 kilometers is about what I'm going to get on my personal charge. However, your mileage may vary. Now, the interesting thing about this is that for the price tag, it's pretty impressive that it is 350 kilowatt hour charging capable, which means you can charge this thing extremely quickly, from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. That's the same as the GV60, but 350 kilowatt capable vehicles are usually super expensive, like the Taycan. The last thing, it's a dual motor, 160 kilowatts on both ends, and now we are done. Thank you for sticking with me. So, I've driven the gas GV70, and now it's time to drive the electric GV70. It's time to put it in drive and head out. But, as you can see from our new rear-facing camera, I don't like that there is a circular drive selector right next to a circular modes selector here. They're both about the same size and about the same place, and I am terrified that one of these days I will go to change the radio and I will slot it directly into reverse. I like otherwise how it's compact, but I don't like the proximity of these two together. Anyways, we're gonna hit the road, I promise. So I was surprised when I started driving this car how greatly the character changes versus the gasoline GV70, considering they are literally the exact same car. The exact same. The only difference is exterior-wise, or not even so much as a badge. You get a different grille because batteries don't need a giant radiator, and you get a different rear fascia because, well, batteries don't need exhaust pipes. Other than that, there are no exterior differences other than you get very cool electric-only wheels. But aside from those minor changes, there's nothing that shouts, this is an electric vehicle. Like when I drove the BMW electric sedan recently, there are basically two different types of EVs. There are like Teslas where you hop in and it's like, welcome to the science project car of the future. And then there are ones that are just regular cars that happen to be powered by electricity. This car is definitely the latter, and if you're looking for a more approachable gateway into electric cars, it's probably this. I like its extremely sharp exterior styling. It's very distinctive, but not shouty. And I love the whole Genesis interior treatment. There's so many things I like inside this car. I like the floating design of the center console. I like the thoughtful mood lighting around the cabin. I like that I have a touchscreen and a little clicky wheel to do things on this big screen. I like the displays. I like the 3D digital cluster. There's so many details in here that Genesis absolutely nails. I think that if there's one thing this brand can be known for, it's that they absolutely nail the little things, the details that make something feel premium. And the quality of this car is just beyond reproach. The doors shut in such a satisfying way, and everything feels cool to the touch and premium. There's so many different textures in here. Is the interior perfect? No, not exactly. There's still this like kind of scroll wheel thing for the volume. I'm not sold on that. I do like a knob. I like that it's not a button. But it does take some getting used to. And some of the buttons, smaller buttons here at the front, do just kind of get lost when you're driving and trying to find them. I also need to give a special call out to the stereo, which is a Lexicon unit. It is quite nice. It's very good. I could go on and on. There's so many things I like about this interior. My only gripe really is that it comes in two colors, black and a two-tone white. The two-tone white looks way better, way nicer than just all boring black. But I like that we have a light colored headliner which helps expand the space. Now, the touch sensitive panel here for your HVAC functions is really nice, although it is worth noting that this car does have a learning curve to use its various interior functions. Unlike the Versa I drove last week, it's not a car you can hop in and become familiar. It is a car you kind of have to learn, and it's not a big deal because eventually it will be your car, but some of the controls are not entirely intuitive, and this car does take a bit to kind of figure out, but once you do, it's very rewarding. I also actually really like the Genesis native infotainment system. Usually with these cars, I go straight to CarPlay and I bypass it. However, this one is quite nice. I like the smooth functionality. Everything I'm looking for is easily found, and it just looks so classy. And they even have a little compass function. I just like it so much. But we also need to talk about how it drives. So for that, it's time to slot it into sport mode. And I feel the throttle pedal stiffen up, the steering gets a little heavier, and it is a very different driving experience than the gasoline powered version. I definitely feel the extra heft, and the power delivery is about 100% different. But it is still fun to drive. I will say that it doesn't feel as light and sporty. Oh, boost mode. Here we go. Look at that. The biggest difference is that the GV70 Electrified can do this. So come to a dead stop, boost engaged, and launching. Here we go. And that's speeding, really. But the acceleration from the electric is just so different than you get from even a high-performance gas engine. It's drama-free, it's impressive, and it's just a very different experience. Having driven a gasoline GV70, you feel the extra weight here. It's definitely a noticeable 600 pounds. That said, it's athletic and fun in a different kind of way than the gas car. For example, I feel the lower center of gravity. You have a more instant response to the pedal action, and ultimately there is more power available, especially down low. Now, like I said, that boost mode takes you from a sufficient 429 horsepower to a ridiculous 483. It's a noticeable difference. So here's without boost mode, which is pretty good. And then we'll hit with boost mode and watch it get more violent. Look at that. So you definitely feel the effect, and it's a fun thing, and I like that Genesis is having fun with what you can do with EVs. It's like the supercharger button from Mad Max. They're doing it in real life. The other thing about the electric drivetrain in the electrified GV70 is just how flawlessly smooth it is. Of course it is, it's electric, but the way it just smoothly glides around town is a real draw for me. That's part of a premium experience, in my opinion. And it really just elevates it over the gas version in like smooth driving in the city or in traffic. I'm really glad I have that electric drivetrain on my side. If you're looking for a more sporty experience, it's honestly apples and oranges. Both the electric and the gas versions offer really good performance. I would say ultimately on a twisty road, I'd kind of rather have the gasoline one, but the electric is a great all-rounder. And when it comes to highway cruising, the electric just cruises so serenely that I really prefer it over the gas on the highway. That said, I don't have to charge a gas engine, so there is a trade-off. So now we need to answer the big question. Should you get the electric or the gasoline GV70? Because otherwise, they're completely the same. First of all, I need to talk about value. There is an $18,000 premium for selecting the electric over the gas. I don't think you're gonna make up that delta with just charging and gas prices alone for a very long time. So I don't think the electric is a value proposition to save money unless you're leasing for a long time or something like that. So value-wise, I'd say the gas is probably a better buy because it gets that $18,000 head start, even though gas is expensive and electricity generally isn't. Next, let's look at performance. In terms of acceleration, there is a definite and clear edge for the electric over the gas. However, you add all that extra weight and it does take away a bit of the light, sporty feeling that I enjoyed from the gasoline-powered GV70. So there's a trade-off there. In terms of interior comfort, again, it goes to the electric because of its just smooth power delivery, its quiet operation. It makes it a different, more luxurious experience than you would get with the gasoline-powered version. And then finally, we get to go with which feels more premium, which feels more rewarding. And I would say overall, I like the electric experience better than the gas. I think that it suits the GV70's character a little better. You lose a bit of that sporting edge, but you gain so much elsewhere. And once you press boost mode, it's no slouch. Look at that. Ultimately, I think the GV70 Electrified is an electric vehicle that you would buy not for the value proposition or because it makes sense, but more because it's how it makes you feel. Everything we loved in the gasoline GV70 is still here. There's nothing that they've deleted that we liked with the gas that's no longer here, except maybe the byproducts of that extra weight. So in the end, the choice is yours. Gasoline or electric, there's no bad answer. For Driving.ca, I'm Clayton Seams, and for a full written review of this car, don't forget to check out our website at Driving.ca. Now, I'm going to press boost mode one more time and put those electric motors to work. Whee!